All righty. Well, it looks like we're already up on stage here. That wasn't
Yo.
planned like that, but things will happen. It's our first episode. Welcome, everybody, to Behind the Barrier podcast. We have a special guest with Robby Lochner with us today.
Hey, hello.
Of course, we have Darrell, two hosts there. And Darrell, I think you were going to start with something, and I can go from there. And
Our
then
guest
we'll
today was Billboard's Adult Album Network as one of the top unsigned bands in the country. Former Z-Rock killing crew for Z-Rock radio station out of Dallas, Texas. Handpicked by Rob Alford out of Judas Priest for the Fight solo. And then moved over to Treason, where he worked with Lionel Richie, Eric Clapton, Michael Jackson, Phil Collins, Mike, and many more people. The solo projects with Neil Turbin, who's the original singer of Anthrax, Jamie Savako, if I said
Sapto.
yeah, Barry Sparks, who's used to be in he's the bassist of Yang Wing Malmsteen. He also worked in Doc and Ted Nugent, and now he's playing in Jack Russell's Great White, and so much. Is the guitarist, singer, and songwriter.
cool,
Let
cool.
me correct something on Treason. The Treason thing, what it is Magic Marino was the lead singer. He's the one who worked with Lionel Richie and Phil Collins and all those people. So
Oh, okay.
sometimes people read that wrong. It's like I was listing the guys that were in the band, and he is the guy who worked with all those people. So I worked with Magic. He worked with them. I didn't work with Lionel, though. There's a drummer that I play with in this funk band, and he plays with Lionel as well. I haven't played with Lionel yet, anyhow, but so there's that connection, 2 degrees of separation, I guess you could say.
Okay. My
That's
bad for
awesome.
the mix up there.
No worries. I just wanted to correct it so I don't, people go, hey, wait a minute,
Yeah, we don't like looking like liars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll just a quick one here. I got to meet you, Robby, for the first time, and Darrell has a quick picture he's going to put up there. But I got to meet you for the first time in 2015 at I think it was the Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino there, if you remember that. But you can
Yeah.
put that down now. But yeah, that's where I first met you guys officially, and then we got to connect a little bit on Facebook and different social medias, and I just want to say to everybody, everybody, even the ex band members, Dickie and some other people, Chris, that I still talk to on occasion, have been nothing but nice and kind. Rest in peace to Jack Russell, by the way.
Yeah.
Him and his wife called me at a time but I was in a very bad place, and I appreciated that. So um, we'll get into a little bit more if you want to about that, but I want to obviously say rest in peace to Jack Russell. And I also want to thank Mr. Robby Lochner here. During the pandemic, he helped me start my YouTube channel a little bit. I didn't know what I was doing, and he gave me some pointers. So thank you for that, Robby. I appreciate that. And
I'm glad it helped out because I don't know. I'm kind of throwing darts in the dark too. So just let you know what I know and, happy to share.
For sure.
yeah, it's kind of interesting. My dad retired from Intel, and the boomer and the Gen X generation created this technology, but a lot of us don't know how to use it very well.
Yeah.
But I thought we would start, if you don't mind, Robby, a couple of minutes per topic, is just to kind of, what age were you, what the first albums you bought, what got you into whatever kind of music, and, kind of give your story if you could.
Well, my first album was Deep Purple Machine Head. Also Deep Purple Burn. I was definitely into Deep Purple. But what really got me into it was my brother, Charlie's older brother. He's the one who started me. He started me and a couple of my other brothers and a bunch of neighborhood friends. It's funny because I actually have the acoustic guitar. He just gave it to me recently, the one that we all played on, and it's sitting right here in the other room. It's kind of a little beaten up. I want to clean it up and try and maybe get it playing again. But it was the guitar my mom actually bought. She was taking a guitar class at the University of Arizona. And when she was done with it, my brother started playing it. And then he started us all on that guitar. So that was the guitar that started it all. And for years, I used to go around and I took that thing everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Anywhere we'd go, I'd have it in the car or be playing, whatever. It's small, could sit down low. And it played great at the time for an acoustic guitar. But so that's how I really started. That's what really got me into it was my brother was no real artist like going, oh, Ace Frehley or
Yeah.
whoever. But I was definitely inspired by Richie Blackmore.
Oh yeah.
Those
He's
guys,
inspired a lot of people.
yeah, for sure. So Blackmore was a thing. And then of course, all the artists of that era, really, Michael Schenker, was listening to Ted Nugent too. Ted was cool. Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, everybody in that era were kind of like the guys as a kid, hearing them going, oh yeah, want to play like that. And then sitting down and learning how to play like that, or at least, give my best attempt at it.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I'll respond and then I'll let Daryl ask the question. That's cool. So what got me in, I'm only 50. Me and Daryl are almost exactly the same age. We're just a few weeks apart, I believe, but we're both 50. And so I was a young lad, and of course, Eddie Van Halen, Richie Blackmore, the list goes on. Some of the Michael Shankner, obviously. But what really got my attention was Randy Rhoads and mixing that classical vibe in and then turning it into a heavy metal, like, and of course, D, just of in itself, the acoustical piece. But it was Revelation Mother Earth. And then I heard the actual soundtrack to Diary of a Madman, and I said, that's that's it. That's what I want. Eddie Van Halen's cool, but I really like Randy Rhoads, but I wanted to make my own style, and I didn't get too far. I kind of peaked, in the early '90s of my guitar playing. But that's interesting. But yeah, that's I still got my original tablature book from Randy Rhoads, and I got the one from Ride the Lightning from Metallica in mint
Nice.
condition.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, Randy was definitely an influence for a lot of people, no question. And there was that whole era where it was like Eddie or Randy, you know. But I
Yeah,
mean, for me, it's like they're both great, but I mean, Eddie was king. I mean, that's just kind of the way I saw it. He came out with that first record and it was polished. I mean, he was on fire. Whereas the Randy stuff, a lot of it, if you listen through it, a lot of it's not really that polished. It was like he had so much room to grow.
yeah,
Who knows, had he lived, who knows what the guy would have been doing. I'm sure it would have been insane. I mean, there was obviously great stuff that a lot of people learned from, including myself. Um, but my thought was always like, where would he have gone with this?
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
I know he told Ozzy he would do, I think, one more album, and then he wanted to go back to school and get his master's degree as a classical guitarist.
Yeah.
That was his real. He said, I did the rock star thing, and it wasn't really for me. I appreciate it. I'll do one more album or two or whatever it was, and he wanted to get his master's degree. And unfortunately, I got to see the site in Leesburg, Florida, about we're at 2026, so a little over 10 years ago, give or take. And yeah, just you can't really see much in there anymore. It's just a field and another home, I think now. But just to be there, and he was one of my biggest heroes, Randy Rhoads. And then of course I live next to Vinny and Daryl Abbott of
Oh,
Pantera.
wow. Yeah.
So we got to jam with them, and we got to watch them play at birthday parties during their power metal tour in '89. And Phil Anselmo came in, and shortly before that, and then all of a sudden they're signed, and they got Cowboys from Hell, and then there they go.
Yeah, they were just, yeah, totally changed because I know I had heard of them before, like the first couple albums. I had a friend of mine that had them. We were like, oh, this is interesting. It's cool. These guys are like doing what we were trying to do at the same time in Arizona. They were a lot better than we were, in my opinion. I mean, they were, but they weren't quite what they became. And then when the Cowboys from Hell came out, I was like, oh man, they just went to a whole different level.
Yep,
And I just got to be a huge fan. At that point, it's like these guys, they just kill it.
absolutely.
So I actually had learned a lot of his stuff. There was a kid that came in for lessons years ago, and that's all he wanted to learn. So we went through and learned, like, God, everything from the Cowboys to Hell, vulgar display. What was the one after that? Was a Southern Trend,
Far Beyond Driven was the third
Far
one,
Beyond
and they
Driven, and then the
it went
Southern.
number
Yeah, so
one.
we were learning everything, and I was like, oh man, this is great. It's great. I mean, those guys were something else, no question, no
Absolutely.
question.
I
Okay,
guess
Earl.
one of my questions is, I know, you had the Lochner thing going there, and then you had moved, and you got up to being a highly known unsigned band, and then going down to Arizona to also go down and play for the international guitar competition.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a
So
quite a
yeah,
journey. So I'm kind of curious on how that went for you.
well, I mean, the thing is with the Billboard thing that is part of Billboard magazine. They did that. See, the album network. We were, the Rock Lochner was considered, I guess, at the time one of the top unsigned bands in the country, and they had a CD they put together. We had a song called "Wings of the Night" that was on it, and we thought, here's another shot at it. There's a couple of times where we thought we had the shot, it was coming, and then nothing happened from it at all. And eventually it all, fizzled, where I was going, okay, this isn't going to happen unless we get out of here. And nobody wanted to leave Tucson. And then I was like, I have to leave, basically I'll rot if I stay here. So before I had left, I started playing with the Killing Crew, and that really only lasted, I think, 9 months. And then I knew, it was like, okay, it's done. I got to go. And then I moved out to California. It was shortly after that, because it was shortly after that I played with Halford. And it was interesting because I had sent in for him, it was EMAS, Entertainment Management Advisory Service, that he had, that was based out of Phoenix. And a friend of
Yeah.
mine, Razor Ray DiCarlo, who is from Tucson, but was living in Torrance, right down the street from where I moved. And he knew about me from the Tucson days, and we hadn't met yet. And then we met, and he was a DJ at KNAC. And he had advised me to send something over to them. And so I called him before I moved, and he had told me that. And I sent in this package. It was a nice package with all this layering of folds out. And all I had on there was a tape of Can of Whoop Ass. I didn't put anything else in there. That was it. And he got the tape, and the story he told me was, the guitar player quit. They needed somebody. And he says they were searching, and he goes, I knew who I wanted. And he said, we had boxes and boxes of tapes. And him and his manager, this guy, John Baxter, they were digging through these boxes. He said, we got to the bottom of the last box. He goes, he was ready to give up. And he goes, and he found his tape, and he goes, here's the tape. Call this guy. He can do it. That's how it
Wow.
happened. So he
Wow.
called me up, and, I was not even in California for a year. And I get this call, and they leave it. I was on the old tape machine, and he calls up. That is actually his manager called up and left a message and said to call. And then I called back. I was actually teaching guitar, came home, got the message, called up. And then I talked to John, and he was saying, okay, I got a band for you. You got to leave the country in a week. And, it's a little more thrashy than you probably are used to. And I was like, okay, from what I understood, this company put people with bands or something. I don't know. That's kind of what I thought. I didn't know. I'm like, okay, what band? What? I mean, I'm leaving the country. You're not telling me anything other than, okay, do you have a passport? I didn't have a passport, so it's like, you got to go. And then it was like, okay, then I didn't hear anything for, I don't know, whatever, maybe it was half a day. I can't even remember now. And then he called back. He goes, okay, so I can tell you now, it's for Rob's band. And I went, oh, yep, I am going. I'm going out of the country. We're doing this. because I didn't know it was like some band, who, you know. So
Well,
for Rob, of course, and then they helped expedite my getting my passport. And then at the time, my stepdad and my mom were living in California still, and he helped out because he was a L.A. sheriff, and he just knew people down in L.A. or whatever, and he went with me, and we went down, and somehow we got my passport within, I think it was 5 days at that point. So I had
wow.
5 days to learn the tunes, 20 songs, and there's going to be no rehearsal. And bye, you're going to go play. So that's kind of how that unfolded. But I kind of credit Razor for, you know, turning me on to sending the tape in, and and the fact that Rob actually listened to it and remembered it. 8 months or whenever it was, 8, 9 months earlier, it was in his mind, my tape, my playing, and he was like, "Oh, you can do it." And that was a pretty surreal time because I was like, I just moved from Arizona. They're flying me to Arizona to go kind of sign up with them. And then I had to come back and have to study all these songs. And it was just crazy because it's all of a sudden my phone's ringing off the hook and I'm constantly on the phone and people are asking me, "Oh, you're with Halford?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then finally I was like, okay, take the phone off the hook, study. I got to learn this stuff. So, there was 5 pre-songs and I think 13, or was it 7 pre-songs, 13 fight songs, something like that. It was the first fight record, however many songs were on there. They're playing all of them. And so the pre-songs, whatever, I played them all. It was no big deal. Went through them, good. Fight stuff I wasn't familiar with. So I'd sit down and I'd learn it. I went through that first day. I was like, okay, I got through everything. I learned it. I went back, couldn't remember a thing, not one note. I'm like, oh my God, this is just crazy. So then I'd have to go back through and I was trying to retain it. Now, in hindsight, what I should have done is I should have tabbed it all out. That's what I'll do now. I'll tab it out so then I don't have to relearn it. I'll look at it and go, oh, here's what it was. And if there's something that's wrong, then I would just look at it and go, oh, that note's actually wrong, correct it, and then work from there. But instead, I'm just drilling and drilling and drilling. And then I hadn't even met the band, just only Rob and the manager at that point. And then I'm off to LA, Thomas Bradley Terminal. They said, you're going to meet Gunji. Gunji was the sound man. And they go, you'll recognize him when you see him. He's, 6 foot, I think 11 or
He's
something.
tall. Yeah, he's tall.
So he was the first guy I met, and I go into the Bradley Terminal, and he's sitting down on this wall, and he's taller than me, and I'm looking at it, I go, you must be Gunji. So yeah, that was him. I guess he had run sound for the Who and a bunch of different bands, but he's, from what I understand, he's no longer around. But he was the first guy I met, and then I slowly started meeting, everybody through points of getting to, Argentina, I think is where we went. And,
Wow.
and what I really remember is I was learning off of cassettes, and
Yeah.
I had one of those little Walkman cassettes and didn't think to bring backup batteries, So I'm listening to the stuff on the airplane, trying to retain it, and it's slowing down and slowing down. And I'm like, oh, didn't bring backup batteries. So kind of in my memory, I hear the songs at a slow speed. It was it was definitely pretty surreal. The other part that was interesting was after I met Rob, and then I'm back the next day, and then I have to go and get my passport. I'm trying to learn the songs, and it was like, and he didn't call me, and then I'd wake up and thinking, did this really happen? Is this real?
Yeah.
And then the next day he called me, goes, how's it going? Whatever. He goes, I know you can do this, and he's like, I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, it's real. And then I'm back at it, and then the next day I don't hear anything, and I'm thinking, did this really happen? You're back going, wait a minute, is this for real? And then, then the next day he calls me up again, same stuff, maybe give me a new story or two about how he found me, or, that kind of stuff. It was quite interesting because it was my first real national gig that, I didn't understand how things worked. I mean, I know we'd play shows, and some of the shows would be like they were cooking food for you, which is standard. You kind of either that or they buy you meals or they give you buyout money to go out and eat. In this case, they're cooking, and I don't know. I'm sitting there going, "There's cooks on duty. This is amazing," So I was like, "Oh, this is cool. We're getting food, and you're eating." And I just thought, "This is wow." I didn't realize that was just kind of standard for at the time. I didn't know. I was
Right.
so new to it all, and then the tech's taking everything. I didn't even take my guitars. I walked off a stage and they took everything, took all the gear, and I'm just like, okay, I just leave, show up at the
Don't have
next
to
gig.
pick up your own mess.
What's that?
Oh, I mean your own. I was gonna. You have to pick up your own mess equipment, but I was gonna ask you. So around that time, if I'm not mistaken, Painkiller had just they'd finished the Judas Priest finished the
Yep.
Painkiller tour, which was one of my favorite albums, to be honest
Oh,
with you, as Painkiller, and that's when
Yeah.
you come into the picture when Rob Halford went solo for a while with Fight. Is that
Yeah.
what I'm gathering?
That's correct. We didn't do anything. I asked the drummer about it, going, "Hey, why aren't we doing Painkiller?" And he looked at me like, "You think those guys could play Painkiller?" I'm like, "Well, the other two guys in the band." I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, I just asking a question, you know."
that's all you can
So it's
do.
like, yeah, it's like I'd love to play Painkiller. What a cool song, killer solos and all that stuff, and
Oh,
But no, we did, like Running Wild, Green Man Alishi, a lot of the simple stuff.
Oh
Electric
yeah.
Eye. Electric Eye's a little tougher. I think we did that. I think we did You Got Another Thing Coming. Now I don't actually remember anymore which songs for sure. For sure we did Hell Bent for Leather, Green Man Alishi, and um was it
Touch of
uh
Evil, or
what's that?
Touch of Evil was off Painkiller.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we didn't do anything off of Painkiller. Nothing. It was all the older stuff. Oh, Running Wild, for sure we did that. Those three I know for sure we did. I was hoping we'd do like Delivering the Goods. I always loved that solo.
Metal Gods, good one.
Yeah, there is just so much material to pick from that, I can do the Glenn Tipton thing. I actually almost kind of look like him too. I could probably mimic it pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah, he could dress like him, get his a guitar like him, and it's almost like what's his name? Faulkner taking over for KK. He kind of
yeah.
looks like KK, plays great. It's interesting. I thought, Tipton, I could do that. I was a big Tipton fan for sure.
Oh
Just his
yeah.
style was just, he just had a thing. So another influence was him for sure.
I was going to ask you before Daryl has this question. Maybe we'll get to that. What led you up to meet Jack Russell and how that came about later on, or if there's anything in between. But Daryl, go ahead if you had, because we are limited on time, folks. We appreciate Robbie Lochner being here, and but he's only got so much time, so we're just kind of squeezing this in. But Daryl, if you want to go ahead and ask your
Yeah, I figured we touch up with like the international guitar competition. I know that leads us right over to the Jack Russell part.
Oh yeah, that was something that was done through a magazine,
Oh
and they
wow.
just had you. I mean, it was like I thought, why not enter it? It was still. I think it was after Halford, and at that point, I was still okay with doing guitar competitions. I think they're a waste of time, really. At any point, at some point, it's a waste of your time. It just doesn't look good. Regardless if you win or lose or whatever. It's just like whatever. I mean, it's so subjective. But I just put a recorder in a room and just played. I don't even remember what I played. And I sent it in with no expectations of anything and ended up winning it. And was
Wow.
like, okay, it was
That's
really
still cool.
whatever. It was some magazine that's probably long gone, but they gave me some press for a while. And I thought, hey, any press is good press. And I think that was right after I had won that LA guitar thing. There's some LA guitar thing that LA Music Awards, and I can't remember the year of that now either.
Yeah, that was
Maybe
97, right around 97.
97.
Yeah.
Okay, that is right. 97. So that international thing was 96. So at that time I was playing with Treason. And when I was playing with Treason, I met this guy, Bernie Corgan. He was this young kid and he was managing this band. And these guys are all like veterans, the one guy, Magic Marino, like, you read his resume on there, all the people, part of his resume. The guy worked with David Lee Roth and I mean, just so many people, just a huge list. Eric Clapton, Lionel
Wow.
Richie, you just name it, Phil Collins, just so many guys, right? So and they had this kid managing them. And I thought he walked into the rehearsal we were doing, and I'm like, what's going on with this guy? So after the rehearsal, we were parked up the street close to each other, and we walked up there and talked the whole way and stood there by his car and talked for a long time. Found out he's actually a musician too. And we exchanged numbers and we became friends and started writing music together. And then when Treason folded, then him and I started a band called Jillian's Crush. And we
Oh
did some
wow.
recordings. Initially, it was called Radio Flyer, and we did some stuff. And he was playing the stuff. He was friends with JY from Styx, so he was playing him our stuff, and he was liking it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then we hooked up with this guy Kurt Cuomo, and we ended up changing the sound. It was becoming more of that pop punk stuff, and that's actually how I met Eddie Money and did some recording for Eddie Money. Was through that,
I didn't
but
no, I didn't know you play with Eddie Money. That's amazing. That's so cool.
I
Wow.
I recorded for him. I didn't play any live shows. I did recordings for him.
Hmm.
But he was cool. He was actually pretty nice to me, and I always appreciate when somebody's, kind to you. I always
Right.
feel like, you should always treat people, everybody with respect and everybody with kindness. Everybody deserves that until they don't. And then at
Right.
that point, it's like, that's when I change my tune on people. And there's a few people that I feel that way about currently, but that's, then the respect is gone. Then it's different. So I'm not the type of person goes, you got to earn my respect. No, you have my respect.
Right.
You have it. You start with respect, you start with kindness, and then you go from there. And
Exactly.
so that's just the way I operate. But with Bernie, it was cool. We had a good thing going. We came close to getting record deals, and it was, it was different. It was a lot of fun, and then it just fell apart. And then when it fell
Oh,
apart, I moved to Orange County, where I live now, and I kept in touch with Bernie. Still, we did some shows here and there, and he ended up working for Guitar Hero and then for David Foster and all these people. He was doing, really well. Unfortunately, he died. It'll
oh,
be 15 years ago now.
sorry to hear
So
that.
it
Wow.
would have been great
Sorry
if
to
he
hear
would have been
that.
around. What's that?
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was a tough time. I lost two close friends within 2 weeks of each other. It was like, wow. Another buddy of mine, this Bob Malady, that we grew up together as little kids, and he died 2 weeks before Bernie. And it was like, then Bernie died. I'm like, what is going on here? But and that was just previous to meeting Jack. So I mean, he would have loved it because he was kind of more like a guy that was into all styles of music, but he was really into the 90s thing. But he
Hmm.
also didn't care. He was going, hey, it's cool to love Whitesnake. It's cool to love Warren, one of these younger guys who wasn't into that. Oh, it's 90s. You can't like that. He didn't care. And I thought, I like this guy. So
Right.
it was very, very cool. But how I met Jack was through Derek Pontier. He was a drummer that played with Great White, I think early 2000s. I think he was with them almost 5 years. And I met him and Dario Satius when I was playing with this band called Dig Jelly at a NAM Jam. They came out, and I knew Dario, hadn't met Derek yet. And we took a break, and I invited him up to play. And the three of us played together, just winging out some covers. And I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. It was felt good. It was all right. And then Derek and I exchanged numbers, and he called me up and said, hey, Jack's looking to start his Shelter Dogs. Do you want to come with me out to the desert and meet him? And I was like, sure. So he picked up Dario. They came to my house, got me, drove out to the desert, and that was the first time I met Jack. And that
Nice.
was like February, I think, February or March, probably February, whatever, somewhere in there of 2011. And Jack was in no condition to be doing any touring or anything. I was like, okay, this guy, no. But 8 months later, or whatever it was, Dario had been keeping in touch with him. And then Dario called me and said, hey, Jack's doing great now. He's not drinking anymore because he was drinking when I met him, and that day he was drinking, and then he had me come back by myself the following weekend, and he was just hammered all day long. And I was going, this isn't doable. He's got a problem that he needs to deal with, and he did in the meantime. So then, when I met him, he was living in Redondo on a boat, And it was funny because I walk onto the boat and he's got on his large screen, he's got me on there, a YouTube video of me. I think it was either Rondo a la Turca was playing or it
Oh
was Can
wow.
of Whoop Ass. I can't remember which one. And then he could, Dario was showing him this stuff. And then I walked on and he looks at me, goes, I kind of remember you. I thought, wow, thanks. So he didn't even really remember me. But all the way
Yeah.
up until the end, he remembered me very well. There's a lot of stuff that went on there that was just, ooh, but we won't get into any of that.
Captain
But
Jack. That's where he
what's
got his
yeah,
nickname with the boat. I remember, after I met y'all, which would have been just a few years after you met him and got in the band,
yeah.
and Tony and everybody, and but I brought 30 minutes. I know we're at a time crunch, but I do want to, and I know you can't talk about too much of this legal,
So,
but I want to clear it up with the people on the internet about Mark Connors or Mark Cruz, but I'll let you say what you're allowed to say legally.
which is, what do you want me to say? He's
Whatever you're
if
allowed to say. I know
well, I mean,
there's
it's going to be going to court. I'm taking him to court. It's happening. He hasn't
okay.
been served yet. He's getting served. It's been a pile of lies. What the guy does is he takes a kernel of little truth and then just spills lies around it. And no, he did not manage Jack Russell's Great White at any point in time. And was he manager of Jack Russell? Never.
Exactly.
That is a fact. He can claim what he wants. He can claim he signed this and that. Jack would not sign anything. Jack was done signing stuff. He was the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years of his life, after the last thing he got out of, there was so much hassle with it for him. He says, I am never signing anything ever again with anyone. The guy was brought on as to help him with merch, is what it was started off with. And then he fabricated stories about the merch sellers we had because he wanted to be able to sell merch at the shows and had them removed. He got them, he was successful in removing them. However, we brought them back once it was proven that it was all lies. But in it, there's nothing alleged about his felony. His felony is real. You can
And
look it up yourself.
if
Nothing
I may
alleged about that.
say, if I may say to meet TOS for our viewers that will be watching this, he is a convicted child pred. We'll just leave it at that.
That is
That
a
is
fact.
so we wanted to get it from the horse's mouth. A lot of people, like they'll say we're lying or something on YouTube or something. It's like, no, I just know what I'm talking about. Like I have direct
Look it up.
communication. So
You
hearing
can
it from
look it up.
you, yeah,
You
look it
can
up.
research it yourself.
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely.
And it's yep, and it's that is not defamation, that is not slander, that is fact. And that
Yep.
will be coming out because, like I said, it's going to court. I'm not messing around with the lies and stuff he's told. It's not, he
Right.
thinks he can do it with impunity. Ain't happening, you know.
Exactly.
And if it doesn't, for any reason, doesn't win, then I will come out hard, and I'm going to come out hard, and I'm not going to mess around because it's going to be not only him, but the snake, the head of the snake will be the same thing.
Yep.
There's a head to the snake, and I won't say who it is yet until I
Right.
have to. If I have to, I will, and I will be bringing on a lot of people, Jack's family, his close friends, her close friends. There's a lot of people who have a lot to say. And I
I
haven't said
imagine.
anything because it's always best to keep quiet. And I'd rather just end it with the law and be done with it. But if it's not successful for whatever reason, you're going to be hearing about it for
Right.
sure. 100%.
May I ask you, when it's all over and done with on my regular channel, maybe we can do a little something. You can update us maybe later on in the future. We can talk about that, of course, because it's something in the quote unquote, we call it quote unquote pred catcher community. It's
Okay.
been brought up not only in that community but other communities on YouTube, and nobody really has what I would call the truth, and you just gave that truth. And you mentioned going to court just in a few days. You can't really talk more about that, so we'll leave that alone. But I just wanted the people to know that hey, he really is a bad person. He's a convicted bad person,
That's
pred, if you
correct.
will. And he was
Yep.
never your manager in Jack Russell's
Nope.
Great White. So I just want to
No.
And the last question I have, and Darryl will have one more, we'll close it out. The last question I have, I guess, is a two-part question, if you don't mind. Did you ever get to earn any gold or platinum records with any of your bands? Is one of my questions. And the second question is, who's the most favorite guitarist or another band member from a different band that you really looked up to, you got to meet?
Well, let's see. For the first one, no and yes. No, I haven't had anything that I've done that has gotten gold or platinum. However, Jack did gift me some gold records because I toured on the music, and he goes, and it hadn't turned gold at the time. It turned gold after the best of. And he goes, hey, you've been touring the music. You've helped it get to gold by touring the music. I want to gift you this. And what am I going to tell him? No. you know. So I'm like,
Amen.
sure, look great on my wall. Let's do it. So
Do you
I did.
happen to have it available to show, or no? You don't have to. I was just curious.
I do. It's
If
in
not,
the other room. It's on the wall in the
oh,
other room.
that's okay. But yeah. And then I guess my next question is like, did you ever get to meet like one of your, like, say, Eddie Van Halen or Randy Rhoads or Dimebag or anybody that
You
you?
know what? I never met any of those guys before, but there's a lot of guys that I've met that I really respect, that we've played shows with, that I've really gotten to respect, over time, and just because who they are, and they're playing, like Joey Allen from Warren. I love Joey Allen. He's
Yeah, he's
great.
good.
He plays great. The band is awesome.
I'm going to go
I
see
love
them
him.
at the end of the year.
What's that?
I'm going to be seeing them in September.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, I just, and the whole band is cool, but Joey especially is just super nice. And, I really just love the guy. Bill Leverty from Firehouse, another one that's, you'd be surprised. I mean, people don't really realize how good of a guitar player that dude is. There's times
He'll
where there was
go
a
ahead.
time where we
Sorry.
played a show with them and we were done. They're getting ready to go on. I can picture the place. I don't know where we were at. It was outdoors, and he's standing behind, and they're starting the starting music, and he's sitting there just talking to me, and he's just, playing over the starting music. And I'm looking at him going, wait a minute, you're getting ready to go out on stage. And he's just chatting away and just shredding it up. And I'm like, what the? And he's like, okay, well, I'll see you later. And he runs out on stage. And I went, oh man, this dude's like put a cape on him. It was just killer.
I've got
Yeah,
a short
There's
on my main channel. It was 1991, and it was Warrant, Trickster, and Firehouse, and they did the Beastie Boys "Fight for Your Rights" and just together on stage as kind of an encore thing, and that was really cool. Then Darrell here, of course. We're hoping to have Bill on the show soon, and Nate Peck as well, the new lead singer for
cool.
Firehouse. Rest in peace to CJ.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Nate's great, super respectful kid, sings
he's
great.
22.
And
He's a young man.
what's
Yeah,
that?
he's
fun
only
watch.
Yeah,
22, and he's got it.
yeah, it's funny is they were going through a period where they didn't have a singer. I know Andrew was singing with them, and something happened. I was talking to our agent, and he told me that they were trying to get a guy out of Canada. Andrew wasn't available, and I told him, why don't you just get Nate? I go, Nate would be perfect. And then nothing really happened there, and I guess they were kind of struggling and looking for somebody. And so I sent a message to Bill, and I said, Bill, you got to check this kid out. And then there was no response, or I don't remember exactly what happened, but I just told Nate, I go, Nate, sing some of the songs. Sing. I think he's saying, he goes like, how, what do I do? And I go, just sing them, And I think he sang two of them in his car. And then one of them, like he does his things with his mic and stuff. And I was like, man, a lot of people thought he sounded like Jack. I'm going, no, he is perfect for Firehouse.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
got all that. So I forwarded him over to Bill, and then Bill was like, what? Oh my God. And he called him up right away. And that was the end of that. He was been in the band ever since.
They
And
really love him too.
oh, he's great. It's not always just about the singing or the playing. It's about the person
Yeah.
you're on the road with. And he's super respectful. He's kind to everybody. I mean, that's the kind of person you want in your band, somebody
yeah.
that is just very respectful to everybody, and he gets the job done. And
All
from
right.
what I'm seeing with the videos of him, and it's starting to, he almost looks like a young CJ, kind of,
He
but
does.
with short hair. It looks like he could be his son. And then watching some of the videos, I'm going, man, he's kind of like moving like him too. Their performance is kind of like, it's so reminiscent of what CJ was doing. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Those guys have, all my respect. They're a great band. They really are. Whether you like the music or not, whatever. I personally do. I
Me
love
too.
watching them. In fact, we're
too.
playing with them July 31st. We'll be
Oh
playing
wow.
a show with those guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. But they're just, the band just lays it down.
They do. Nate, so Darrell here, he posted some videos of the Firehouse show, and Nate actually commented on his page, and
Yep.
it's pretty neat. But we're at 40 minutes or so. Darrell, do you have one last question you'd like to ask, and then because we're at a
Yeah, I would
time
just like to
crunch.
ask. I know you're working on some new projects. I guess we can end with what we're looking for in the future.
So there's, quite a few different things that I'm doing, but well, obviously the one Bitten band, and we have that one single out that rocking like the 80s. We got another one we're working towards. It moves a little slower than I'd like because everybody's busy with stuff. So I have a couple different projects. The one is that Leaving on Sunday, which is moving quick. We're moving
Oh
pretty
yeah.
fast with that. So we got our third single coming out. You have the third single that Enjoy the Ride, and that one hasn't been released yet. So you'll play it, and there shouldn't be any kind of strike at all. But we've got probably 10 more songs that are just
So
templated, and two of them that are ready. So the first thing we released were from the recordings I did with him back in 2010, and I figured, hey, let's finish these. And then we got 10 newer ones, and still three more of the older ones. So
wow.
it's moving pretty quick, and it's pretty
I,
cool. I mean, this guy was a student of mine back years ago in Torrance, and the lady who owned the store came to me and said, "Hey, there's this kid. Um, nobody wants to teach him. Would you teach him?" And I go, "Well, what's the problem?" He goes, "Well, he's blind." I go, "Okay, so I started teaching him, and it quickly turned into songwriting. He's just all about singing and songwriting, and so all these years later, here we're working together on stuff, and it's different. It's not, it's more, I want to say pop, alternative pop, kind of where he leans, but there's a vibe to it, and I like the music. And I'm eclectic. If you follow any of the stuff I've done, it's eclectic over the years. It's all very different. The Dig Jelly stuff, the
if
what's it,
you
the
don't
Dill
mind,
stuff.
Daryl,
You
if you
find
could
all
maybe play a few, just like maybe skip through, like do an 8-second clip at the beginning, maybe a little bit of the chorus. What we can, so that it'll be, we're going to be premiering your song for the first time to the world here a little bit. That's pretty
you
cool.
will
It's
be,
an honor.
man.
Daryl,
I'm almost out of power here. I got to plug in or something. It looks like it's gonna die.
okay. We'll do this. If you can hang out, we'll do a little bit of that song, and then we'll talk to you afterwards after we end the recording here.
Okay.
Daryl, just do like an 8-second of the intro, maybe a little bit of the chorus, name the song, and then we'll say our goodbyes, and then yeah, we'll do it that way. That's
All right,
cool.
sounds good. This is Enjoy the Ride.
I'm gonna move this so I can plug it in.
Oh wait, Daryl, go ahead and stop that for a second there. He's got a technical issue.
Sure.
We'll wait till he fixes that because his phone's about to die.
There we go.
Okay, well, what
Okay,
we'll
so
do,
now
Robbie,
now we're
is
gonna be at a different. There we go.
if you don't mind,
Love
what
this.
we'll do, Robbie, is you and I will mute our audio while he plays a little bit of clip.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Okay, you're doing alright now, and everything seems to be fine. You said you can do it when you get down to it. It's the fear that will lose you, the fear that consumes you. Enjoy the ride, let it take you where it will. Let it take you where
I definitely like how that guitar is going.
it may. And so they say you'll never be happy, but you'll never know until you enjoy the ride. Everyone's watching, you're not who you once were, and everything seems to be wrong. You said you can do it, when you get down to it, you don't know what you're doing at all. Enjoy the
Doing
Wow,
those periodic stops like we have to do.
yeah. Well, we'll keep it at that because we have to do that one other thing before he bolts
Yep.
out. He has to leave. So hey, I appreciate Robbie you being here. Daryl, obviously.
That's definitely awesome.
Maybe we can have you back for a round two, maybe sometime in the future, and we definitely appreciate it. If you could hang out for a second, we're going to close it out and then we'll stop it. We'll talk to you after the recording ends here. We're going to close out with just a little 30-minute, kind of more of an 80s into the 90s type song that Daryl came up with here, and then we'll end the recording and then we'll talk after that. So thank you all for watching this in the future, and thank you, Robbie Lochner, again, and congratulations for
Robbie.
everything you've done.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, guys.
And thank you for being a friend and a good person. I really appreciate it. And
Cool.
so we'll play out. If you could maybe put that banner up, Darrell, and then we'll do that song, and then you can end the recording right after that song, and then we'll have our brief little after talk.
Sounds good.
All righty.
The wall. We just pretend it's not there.